What's going on, world? It's your main man, Kareem A. Rashid, the voice and your host of Clearing the Wreckage. Yes, we got another great episode in store for you today. Once again, I don't know if you're on your way to work, but if you're driving, please pay attention to the road. Yes. And you could be at work on a quick lunch break trying to get a sneak peek into this episode. Just please be sure to clock back into work on time. And you know you can always be doing something that is very important. And that is on the toilet. But please make sure that you flush. Yes. What's going on, world? My wreckage clearers. That is who we are in this community. Thank you so much for tuning in to another great episode of Clearing the Wreckage. I want to thank all of my listeners, all of my followers, all of those who are downloading episodes. Thank you so much. This community is growing day by day, each week. I'm getting more listeners, and I am excited about that. I'm excited that you have accepted my invitation to come on this journey with me. That's what I'm excited about. That makes me so excited that there are people that just want to be on the journey with me, hand in hand, walking side by side with me, with no judgment, and just, we're one. And it's all about oneness, togetherness, and being a part of a community. I want to tell you that if you don't feel like you belong anywhere, you belong here. That's for sure. So thank you so much for coming on this journey with me once again. I want to thank all of my YouTube subscribers, the old ones to the new ones. Thank you for watching my silly facial expressions while I'm recording these episodes. And today, what are we going to talk about, Kareem? Well, as always, we're going to talk about clearing the wreckage. But I want to throw a disclaimer out there because the next few episodes and just maybe the episodes to come, I just want to say this to the audience, to the community, that these few episodes and the ones to come may be really hard to listen to. I might say some things that they could possibly trigger you. It is by no means my intentions at all. Also, anyone included in these episodes, I am not frowning upon them. I am in no way dishonoring them. I am in no way defaming their character or discrediting them. I need to make that known, okay? This is simply my story, my journey, and you were invited to come along with me and walk alongside with me as you have, as we clear the wreckage together as one and as a community. All right? So that's out of the way. Let's go, wreckage clearers. Today in this episode, oh man, I was struggling all week. I just got to have some honest time with y'all, I was struggling all week, like, man, what am I going to talk about? Because I know that the episodes coming up are going to be really hard for me to discuss. And kind of honestly, hard for me to be honest about. And if I'm being my authentic self right now, if I'm being honest with myself, honest with you, man, I was just kind of struggling this week. Like, gosh, I don't really want to talk about that. I don't know if I'm ready to be honest about these things to my listeners. But as it goes, we're here to clear the wreckage. So it's time to do it. The name of this episode is going to be Love, Lust, Codependency, Lack of Self-Worth, or, question mark. So I want to go ahead and throw out some definitions real quick. What do you think the definition of love is? Well, love, A deep, tender, passionate affection for another person. These are the definitions from Random House American's Dictionary, by the way. American English Dictionary, I should say. Also, love is a feeling of warm personal attachment or deep affection. So we got love defined as a deep, tender, deep, down into the soul, but soft and tender, passionate, fire, right? Affection, touching, affirmations, service for another person. Then they also have love defined as a feeling of warm personal attachment. So you get this feeling like, oh, I love you. I'm attached to you. I love you deeply. So what do you think the definition of lust is? Kind of close to love, actually. It's a deep, strong sexual desire or appetite. So lust is more of the sexual nature when it comes to the flesh. Also, it is defined as a passionate, overwhelming desire or craving. Wow. So you could actually lust for someone or something. It doesn't have to necessarily be a person. Codependent. That is defined as of or relating to a relationship in which one person is addicted to alcohol or drugs and tries to manipulate or control the other person. Another definition states of or relating to a relationship in which one person is physically or psychologically addicted as to alcohol or gambling, and the other person is psychologically dependent on the first in an unhealthy way or manner. Well, let's go to self-worth. What is that? Well, self-worth is the sense of one's own value or worth as a person. Some may say self-worth, some may say self-esteem, some may say self-respect. It's all the same, right? So valuing yourself, having a deep sense of it, knowing that, man, I am someone, I am worthy of love, I am worthy of affection, I am worthy of this tender, passionate affection to receive from someone else and to and to give to myself. That's having self-worth. That's having a good amount of it. Affirming yourself, knowing who you are. Knowing that my worth is not equated to numbers. My worth is not equated to what someone says about me. And how I define it, it's equated to what the Creator, right, says about me. And you hear it from me first. I am a child of the Most High. So I know I'm worth a whole lot. At least now in my life I do. So with all that being said, we got the definitions out there. So in order for this episode to kind of make sense, I got to go back a few years prior to, if you've been on this journey with me, you know that the setting is in between 2012 and 2015, right? I gave you a setting. I started it off in 2012, letting you know this is where I was. And so we got to go back a little bit in order for some things to make sense to you and what I'm about to share according to the title of this episode, right? All right. So let me take you back to like 2010. Y'all with me? All right, just imagine, I'm a great audiobook reader and I'm funny and you're listening to me. So enjoy. All right. Back like 2010. All right, so during that time, y'all know, if you've been listening from the beginning From the first episode until, during that time, I was still heavily addicted to alcohol and drugs, right? To put it simply, I was active in my addiction. I was using every single day. All day, it was a party. Right, so at that time, I was staying with mi madre, with my mom. That means mom in Spanish. Madre. Anyway, I did have a job at that time, at least. And all my money, obviously, was used for alcohol and drugs. And I probably shouldn't have said obviously there, because some of you don't know what it's like to be addicted or, to alcohol or drugs. But that's what all my money went to. I lived to drink. I worked to drink. Every day was a party. Even if I was solo, I was having my own party. Anyway, with that being said, I was working for this great company. And during the time that I was working for them, I had developed a hustle scheme. I developed a hustle scheme so grand and so manipulative. I mean, just amazing tactics, I should say. Where I was able to get more money as I worked. Right? So not just my paycheck, I was also able to accumulate more funds. And the more funds I accumulated, the more I could drink, the more I could do drugs, the more my lifestyle could continue. I was attached to that lifestyle. I needed it in order to survive, in order to feel good about myself, in order to have some self-worth. At least I thought. It was all an illusion. Bear with me. Stay with me, though. Stay with me. All right, so all of that's going on, right? So I'm going to work every single day. I'm catching the bus. I did not have a vehicle at the time. I'm catching the bus to work. And I remember going to work. And I remember seeing this beautiful girl on the bus. And she was standing up, talking to the bus driver as I walked into the bus. We made eye contact, whatnot, and that was that. The next time I went to work, and the bus stopped at a particular route to pick up other people, she was one of the people to get on the bus. And can you believe it? She came and she sat down next to me. I was in amazement, like, whoa, this girl is coming to sit down next to me? What in the world? I ain't know she liked me. We just made eye contact, So she's got big kahunas to come sit down next to me and talk to me, And that same day, I believe it was the same day. I don't know for sure. I asked her for her phone number, and she gladly gave it to me. Now, she set some boundaries right then and there when she gave me the phone number. She said, look, I just moved here, so I stay with my mother. You can't call. Back then, we had landlines. Yes, there were cell phones around, but she didn't have a cell phone. She had just moved into town. She didn't have anything. She was staying with her mom, and she was going to school. And so, with that being said, I receive her phone number. She gives me the guidelines. It says, hey, don't call after a certain time, blase, blase. I'm at my mom's house. I said, okay, I respect that. So, I would call her that same night. We talked, we had a great conversation. And in that conversation, she told me, I am dating someone right now. I'm in a relationship. It's long distance, but I am in a relationship. So what we have, we can get to know each other, talk, but it's going to be strictly platonic. I was like, all right, that's cool, all good with me, all good with me. And in my head, I was like, but you go leave him for me, though. You gonna leave him, I know you are. That's what I was thinking. Because, again, I had an ego the size of Russia. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. So, eventually, the cool thing about it, though, is that she did break up with him. And come on now. You know she broke up with him because of me. Look at me. If y'all watching on YouTube, you can see this face. How could you not? How could you not? Look at this face. Nah, I'm just playing. I'm just playing around. All right, so anyway, so we eventually started dating after that. And in the meantime, I could not stop thinking about her. I could not wait to talk to her on the phone, man, to see her on the bus, to hang out, to talk. She was everything I thought of. Oh, my God. And once we started dating, I would get her to start drinking. I got her involved in my lifestyle. Now, I want to just throw this out there while I'm saying this. Anyone that came in contact with Kareem and wanted to be Kareem's friend, just friend, you had to be like me. I ain't socialized with anybody that was not drinking, that was not doing drugs, that was not living a lifestyle that I was living. Because if you couldn't get down like me, then there was no point in hanging out with you, because I was going to leave you in the dust. You know, I was going to drink you under the table, and it just would have been fun. So, you know, I was selective with my choice of friends and who I decided to hang with. And so at that time, it was like, I got her to start drinking. I got her to start doing drugs and so forth and so on. And it was amazing to me because I was like, oh, she can hang with me. What? I got a ride or die chick. That's what's up. So from that point, it became more of me becoming codependent upon her. And what happened was, one weekend, her mother decided to go out of town. And her mother gave her guidelines, boundaries, rules. Hey, you know, I'm going out of town. Don't have nobody at my house. Don't have no one over here. And so she told me her parents were going out of town. I was like, cool, bet. I'm coming over. And she was like, no, my mom specifically said no one can come over to this house while she's gone. No, don't do that. And I was like, man, look. She ain't gonna know. What is she gonna know? She going out of town. Ain't like she got cameras set up in that house. She ain't gonna know nothing. Look, I'm coming over there. It's Friday night. We go drink. And we gonna have a great time. And she was like, no, don't. You know, like you could just come over for maybe a second. I'll meet you outside, but you can't. You can't. And I was like, man, chill. It's going to be good. It's going to be all good. Chill out, man. I got this. Totally convinced her, manipulated her to allow me to come over. And then later that when that Friday came around, I went ahead and went over there. And, oh, my God, you know, manipulated her completely to, like, buy drugs, you know, for us to drink. For, you know, I mean, just to basically destroy that house. I mean, I had drugs all over the table, alcohol all over the table, the dining room table. I mean, it wasn't a good look, basically. And I remember us hanging out that night, and then we end up going to sleep eventually. And then the next day we did the same thing. And so the next night we were like, you know, all drunk and high and everything. We were like, let's go to the pool. And so we went to the pool and, you know, we're on our way back to the house. And she's like, I saw my mom. And I'm like, nah, man, what you talking about? Your mom ain't coming back this Sunday. You ain't see your mom? She was like, I'm telling you, Kareem, my mom just drove down the road. OMG. And I'm like, this is how selfish I was. I was like, man, you're my man, whatever, man. I'm going to the corner store to get me a beer. So like the corner store was right down the street from where we were. So I just walked away and went to get my beer. So as I'm walking back up, before I even walk up, her mom comes to the corner store. This is how crazy this was. Her mom comes to the corner store and opens the door, and she finds me and she says, I'm not going to tell you what she said. It was just some very, and the things that she said, she needed to say to me. Like, in all honesty, the things that she said, she needed to say to me, and I deserved every word she said to me. In a nutshell, she said, don't come back around my daughter. You are a bad influence for her. Which was true. I was. I created all the wreckage. I caused it. So as I'm walking back up to the house, I see my girlfriend coming back down the road with all her bags in her hand, and I'm like, what happened? I got kicked out, and she's crying, and she's upset, she's distraught, and I'm like, oh my God, and I comfort her for a second, and then I called my friend, and I was like, let's go get some more dope, let's go drink. It's like it's all over with, whatever, you know what I'm saying? No big deal. Let's just escape this little pain that we're dealing with right now and go drink and get high and not think about it. Anyway, so from that point, I snuck her into my mother's house at like 5 o'clock in the morning. I wake up, I see that my mother is up, and I say, good morning, Mom, and talk to her, and then my mom tells me right away, I know she's in this house. I got a phone call last night in the wee hours of the morning from her mother. And so then I tried to play it off, and then I easily manipulated my mom. I really did. Like, this is a true story. I manipulated my mom and was like, well, she has nowhere to go, can she stay for a little while? And so that's what happened. So my mother allowed her to stay in her house, for a little bit. And we stayed in the same room. And eventually, thank God, we were able to get our own place. So we got our own apartment. And from there, we moved out of my mom's house, got our own little apartment. And when we got this apartment in the hood, it was all that Kareem at the time could afford. And when I tell you it was the hood, it was the hood. And wow, what a great place for an alcoholic and addict to live. Everything I needed was right there. And oh my goodness. So the influencing and the manipulating increased. I got her more hooked on alcohol. She wasn't even a drinker when she met me. She didn't drink at all. I had so much alcohol in that house that it was like, and I was going to be drinking, and I was very manipulative, like, you need to drink with me because I don't want you sitting up here sober and I'm, getting plastered. It's not the same. She knew that. She was my ride or die chick. So she took it on with me. And so we stayed there for a little while at the apartment. And one night, I came home from work and I brought home some alcohol and all types of liquor, beer, everything. I mean, I had it all. I just got paid that night. I'm pretty sure I just got paid. And, as soon as I get home, I don't wait. First of all, before I even got home on my walk to the house, to the apartment, because I got out the bus down the road and there's like a little, I'm probably like a block to the apartment where we were staying. I cracked, opened a beer, on the way home. I would stop also to the dope man house on the way home and get what I needed. So I would partake in drinking and using drugs by myself before I even got home. So I was already like I was wide open. I was blitzed. I was feeling good by the time I got to the house that night. Get there, I'm like, hey, let's watch a movie. You know what I'm saying? Let's just chill, man. Have a great night. Watch a movie together. No company, no friends, no nothing. She was like, that's great. That sounds great, you know. And I was like, here, boom. You know what I'm saying? Here's stuff to drink, you know, and here's drugs. Let's just hang out and have a good time. And it was like the perfect plan, right? So that's what we're doing. And then as we're watching the movie, hanging out, someone comes to knock on the door. Of course, I stayed in the hood. Everybody knew. Now, so in the hood, let me just explain something to you, how the hood works. All right. So whatever you got, we want. That's how the hood works. You know what I'm saying? And we watching you every time. So when you walk outside, we watching you. We watching to see your whole activity, seeing what you about, seeing what you doing on a day-to-day basis. All right. And if we see that you got and we ain't got, we coming to knock on the door and we coming to get some. And we're going to pretend to be your buddy, your friend, your ace boon coon, all the above to get what we want. That is how it works in the hood. So there you go. So if you never lived the hood life, now you know. So if you ever have to go live in the hood, now you know I gave you the lowdown. That's how people are in the hood. Watching your every move. You better be careful. Anyway, with that being said, got to knock on the door, open the door. I'm like, hey, what's up, man? You know, and I'm sitting there, I'm rolling up, rolling up a joint, you know, I'm drinking, and I'm like, dang. In my head, I'm like, man, I don't want to share anything with anyone except my girlfriend. This was the plan. The plan was just to hang out at the house. That's it. And so that was already in my mind. And so my homie's like, hey, man, you know what I'm saying? I need to go get this. Can you come walk with me? And I was like, you know, so I talked to her. I was like, can I go? Yeah. And she was like, no, you're supposed to stay here. And we got into a whole argument and, you know, and it was my fault because I should have just said no to him. And I should have stayed and stuck to my guns and stayed with the plan of the night. But I was like, no, I'm just going to walk down the street. I'll be right back. So I leave. I go down the street with him. I come back. And, you know, it's just a hostile environment because she is still irate. And so we get in an argument. And then all of a sudden something happened. And I blacked out. And all I know is that my friend had walked me to the ambulance. This is all I know. All right? So I'm telling you a true story, but this is all I can recall. I'm walking to the ambulance, and the ambulance gets me, and they wrap my head up. And the ambulance, the paramedic lady is talking to me, and she's trying to get me to say who did this. So you know what? I give a whole story. Instead of just saying my girlfriend did this, I was so codependent and attached to her. I was like, no. I can't have her go away from me or leave me. I can't have her get nothing is her fault. I'll take the blame for everything, right? Because I didn't have any self-worth, y'all. I did not value myself enough to know that I could stand alone or to be by myself. So, with that being said, the paramedic already knows what time it is. So the paramedic is just like, okay, as I'm telling this long, drawn-out story. And I make up the story. I make the story up, and the story is like this. Oh, you know, I was walking home. I got off the bus, and I was walking home. You know, I stopped to the store first, and then I was walking home. And all of a sudden, somebody came up behind me, and they attacked me, and they robbed me for everything. And that's how this happened. And she doesn't believe it at all. I stick with that story until she finally looks at me and she says, come on. I know the truth. you are worth more than what you're saying, than what you say to yourself that you are. You need to stand up and be a man. She said that to me. And that's when I was like, okay, I'm not finna have this lady telling me I'm not no dang gone man. Nah. That's when I was like, okay, well, if you know the truth, then that's okay. So then you know what happened. And so I had to watch, at that time, my girlfriend being taken away from me. And let me just pause right here, because this is a moment where, if you've been listening to these episodes, the abandonment has come. This is where I'm feeling lost. I'm feeling confused. I'm in dismay. I'm upset. I'm agitated. And I feel that the whole world is about to collapse. Right here in this moment, as she is walking by, I'm at the ambulance getting bandaged. She's walking by with the police officers, and I am lost. Totally lost. My heart drops. In my mind, I'm in shock. And at the same time, I'm thinking to myself, well, I'm being abandoned again. So if you've been listening all the way up to now, you already know. I ain't gotta go back into those details about me feeling abandoned or me feeling lonely. You already know. So I got to the hospital. I couldn't tell you what else happened from there. I mean, they put me under, or whatever. So I don't know. All I know is eventually I got back to my apartment. I could not go back to work. I took a leave of absence, so I couldn't go back to work because I had to heal from my injury. But eventually I got into things to where I felt like I didn't need to have to work. I was making my own money. I was out there hustling. So I just was like, man, forget work. I'm not going back to work for a little bit. But then eventually I did go back to work. I just kept calling and saying, I can't come to work. I can't come to work. I'm still trying to heal. I prolonged it as long as I could, but eventually I went back to work. But eventually I also lost my apartment. And in losing that, my mother so graciously allowed me to stay with her. And one of the reasons I lost my apartment, it wasn't because I couldn't pay for it. It wasn't any of that. It was because I was so depressed that I could not do anything. I mean, I was literally stuck. I was in paralytic fear that I was going to be alone now for the rest of my life, because I thought I found my ride or die chick, and this is it for me. I'm not looking for anybody else. This is it, and then she left. And so I felt alone. I felt devastated. And I felt like I would never have anybody. And so it was just really hard. It was a really hard time for me to gather myself and to pick myself up and say, it's gonna be okay. You gotta be responsible. And let me just throw in that you have to remember that I had a hard time with being responsible, because I used all my money for alcohol and drugs. I mean, that's what I did. So it was hard for me on my own to be responsible. At least when she was there, we both were kind of, she was helping me be responsible. So I felt like I needed her, and then she was gone. Whew, that was such a hard time, and that was hard for me to talk about also. So, but thank you so much for just bearing with me and listening. And so eventually I moved in with Mom, and then I go to visit her while she's incarcerated, and I don't want to give up on her. She's telling me it's over. I'm no good for you. Look at what I did. You know, you need to just forget about me and move on. I couldn't. I really couldn't. I was like, no, I need you. You know, I love you. Yeah, I need you in my life. I'm nothing without you. You know, all those things, you know. And that is actually how I felt on the inside. I mean, it was this overwhelming feeling, this overwhelming craving. Get that? Maybe it was lust or desire for her. Eventually, I won her back. I don't know how, but I mean, I worked on forgiving her, and I felt like if I could forgive her, then I could be back with her, and we can just, you know, move forward from here. And so eventually that's what we did. And we got back together, and it was going good, you know, for a little while, but my decision was probably the worst decision, because in the eyes of other people, not in my eyes, in the eyes of other people, it was the worst decision. In my eyes, it was the best decision. It was like, oh, I got my girl back. I got my rock. Now we good. We good. Let's go conquer the world. Let's go drink. Let's, you know, let's terrorize the city. Let's have a great time. So I got her back, and eventually I asked my mom again if she could stay with us. She had nowhere to go. She had just got out. She just got released. She had nowhere to go. I asked my mom, if she could stay with us. My mom actually allowed this to happen. And so if you know the story, you know, eventually my mother kicked me out of her home. And that's actually where this whole podcast pretty much starts off at, right? So now we're back at that point. And because she was living with us, she got kicked out too. So off to the woods we go. And that's where we wound up. And then you already know the story about me leaving the woods, me getting sober, me getting clean, you know, us going our separate ways, and then me just clearing the wreckage from there, right? Clearing the wreckage, moved back in with my mom, boom, got a job, got a car, got a place to stay, you know, was going to therapy, you know, clearing the wreckage, going to church every Sunday, going to church every Wednesday, going to my Monday night recovery meeting with the men, clearing the wreckage. Boy, I mean, I was like, nope, I'm going to be a different man, right? So you already know that. And so now we're at this point where eventually the ex comes back into my life. I'm staying by myself. The ex comes back into my life. I don't really recall how we got in touch with each other. I really don't. But eventually we started dating again. Now, at this time, I'm sober and I'm clean. So I'm not living the lifestyle that I live. But I felt like, man, I've been working on myself, you know, like I'm doing a lot better. And, oh, man, here she comes. I can help her do good as well. And we can do great together. So this time I had a whole different mindset. Like, we can do great things together, and we can, you know, just be amazing people and help one another out. She can get on board with the things I'm doing. I'm helping people. I'm volunteering at places. I'm working. She can get a job. But all these things I'm thinking, right? I'm like, yeah. And so eventually I proposed to her. I was like, nah, this is going to be my wife, you know. She was sober. She got sober and clean, you know. So I was like, yeah, this is awesome. And then she got taken away from me again. And there the abandonment set in once again. And after doing work in therapy, I realized I was completely codependent upon her. I had no idea who I was, but when she was around, I knew who I was. I hope that makes sense to you. So I had no value within myself, no sense of value. I still didn't, even though I'm going to work, I got a car, I was able to do all these things, go to therapy, get my own place. I still did not see myself as anyone besides a destructive, selfish, worthless piece of crap human being. But when she was around, I was more than that because I was something to her. And because I was something to her, it gave me a false sense of value. That's codependency. So I get abandoned again, and I am depressed. I fall into a state of depression, and this depression hit hard like it never hit before. I stopped going to church. I stopped contacting the people that I knew that were helping me. I stopped contacting my mentor. I just could not go on without her. It was hard. It was really hard, y'all. It was really hard. So within that time, I still was going to therapy, so I was learning some things, but I wasn't really applying them. But I remember my therapist telling me this. You love her, Kareem. I know that you love her, but your love is also codependent, and your love is also lust. And you have no self-worth. You are still learning who you are. Now, one of the things I learned about that, during that time, yes, I was depressed, but I was still able to kind of look within a little bit. Not much. I mean, I really didn't want to deal with it, but I was learning that, oh my gosh, I need more help. I need more help. I need to dig deep. I need to go back to my childhood, because this is where this all stems from. Because as a child, I was the youngest, and as a child, I did not receive I'm trying to say this in the right way, because my parents did the best that they could, and they did what they knew, right? So I'm not discrediting them when I say this. But the affirmation, the words, I love you, I did not receive that. I did not hear that from my father. I did not even hear it from my mother. You would think I would hear it from. I did not hear that from my mother. Neither did I hear it from any of my siblings. In our household, we walked past each other. We didn't even hug one another. We barely talked or communicated with one another. That's how it was growing up. And I was the youngest. So by the time, and you already know this, by the time I was age 4, my oldest sister had already graduated from high school. So she was gone from the house. First, that's abandonment. First, at age 4, the feeling of abandonment. I'm not saying that she abandoned me, because obviously she just graduated high school and moved out of the house. There was nothing that she did intentionally. Oh, I'm going to leave my younger brother. None of that was the mindset. It was just, I'm going on with my life. But the mindset of me as a 4-year-old kid not seeing his older sister anymore all of a sudden, where did she go? And then shortly after that, my other sister was gone. Then shortly after that, my other sister, 3 older sisters and an older brother. Then eventually, my brother was gone, and it was just me. So the feeling of loneliness, oh my gosh, you want to talk about somebody feeling lonely all their life? My whole childhood, I was lonely. I had no one. No one. Because my parents had went through their divorce. I didn't have anybody. So then I finally get somebody, and then they get taken away from me. Man, come on. Of course I'm depressed. Of course. To me, I thought how I was feeling was natural. So I'm like, goodness gracious. I mean, and I had people come into my house. I had people checking on me. You know, I had people trying to get me back up. And at that time, I had some people telling me, like, man, you need to come on, man, you know. And I was like, you don't understand what I'm going through, which made me even more depressed because I was like, these humans don't even understand this. I don't want anything to do with you, which made me not want to go to church, not want to go to the recovery meetings, you know, and be around folks. I just wanted to be by myself, which was probably the worst thing for me. So all of that happened, and one of those things that I did learn is that, oh my goodness, I mistake love for lust, and I mistake love for codependency. Or codependency for love. Maybe it's the other way around. I don't know. So I wanted to share this episode with you because I know that there is someone listening right now, that is either going through that exact thing or has went through it or will go through it. But I don't want you to have to go through it. That's why I'm sharing this with you. I don't want you to have to go through it. I want you to learn from me. Let's clear the wreckage right now so you don't go into this and fall into the same traps that I did. Right? So that time it got very desolate, lonely, but eventually, I started going back to church. I got myself up. I don't know how. Started going back to church. And I started going back to my recovery meetings on Monday. I stayed sober and clean. And for that, I was excited. I was doing everything in my power to stay clean. And the one thing that I did was I decided to help other people. I got out of myself. I started a YouTube channel back then. I erased half of those videos, so if you're on my YouTube, you probably won't see none of those videos. And I started just kind of sharing my story, like helping people so that I can help myself get out of that funk, right? And then I started writing in my journal again even more. Now, see, this was a daily routine that I was doing, and I was doing it back then, but then I just increased the journaling. I mean, I probably wrote like, 3-4 times a day during that state of depression because I was like, what in the heck? I feel totally lost. But I stayed sober and clean, and I was able to get back on the horse, right? Get back on and ride. So I know that there is somebody listening to this episode today that needed to hear that. Because you probably ask me, like, all right, Kareem, why you share all of that with us, that whole story about it? Because I wanted you to know that you are not alone. You're not alone. That was an abusive relationship that I was in. Psychologically, physically, emotionally, completely. Completely abusive. I was completely codependent upon her. In fact, what I learned is I was codependent upon everyone that was close to me that I came in contact with. And I learned that through therapy. So anyway, I want to thank y'all so much for listening. My challenge for you is to go back over those definitions yourself. The definition of love, definition of lust, definition of codependency, definition of self-worth. I want you to take some time and look inside and define where you are. If you're in a relationship with someone, define that. Do I actually love this person? The same with lust. Define it. I'm in a relationship with this person, but is it love or am I actually just lusting after them? Is it just a sexual appetite that I have for them? Define it. Am I codependent? Am I attached to this person, psychologically? Am I manipulative? Am I trying to control the outcome? Do I have any sense of self-worth, self-respect, self-esteem? This guy is physical with me. He puts his hands on me, but I still come back. Do I actually have any self-worth? This guy talks to me any kind of way he wants to, and I don't set any boundaries whatsoever. I let it be. He yells at me. He curses me out. He calls me a piece of shit every day, and I still run back to him. Vice versa, because don't get it twisted. Vice versa means I'm dating this girl, and she talks to me any kind of way she wants to, and I don't set any boundaries with her. I don't say, hey, I feel disrespected. Don't talk to me like that. I don't say nothing because I want to make sure she's happy. I don't want to ruffle any feathers. I don't want her ultimately to leave me. Folks, that's where I was. That's exactly where I was. I'm going to do everything in my power for her to stay with me, because if she leaves me, I don't know who I am without that, without her. Whether it's with your parents, whether it's with, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, if you're married, your husband, your wife, it could be coworkers. Ask yourself that question about codependency when it comes to your coworkers. Do I just let my coworkers talk crap about me every single day that I come to work? Ask yourself these questions. I want you to journal about this. I want you to take the time to look inside so that the wreckage can clear, because we as a community are the wreckage clearers, and that is what we do on this podcast. So once again, thank you so much for tuning in with me. Hey, again, like I said, the next few episodes are going to be difficult for me to talk about. Please be praying for me, and that I will have the strength and the faith and the to get on and share it regardless, which I'm pretty sure I will, but I need your prayers and your help too, and your support. It's much appreciated, trust me. And with that being said, as I always leave you, take the time to look inside so that the wreckage can begin to clear. Peace.